Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the final match in the quarterfinals for the Osumania 4K World Cup 2021. I am going to be your commentator, Toph Daddy, joined yet again by Dabby for the weekend. This is our third time commentating together.
Yeah, this weekend. Not the third time, like, overall.
Yeah, this weekend I should mention, and we've got a really good match coming up, I think. Canada versus France. Arguably one of, I think, potentially the closest match of the weekend.
I am very stoked on this, let me tell you that much.
Yeah. The unfortunate part for France in this situation is that they don't have any intel on the scores that Canada is able to throw out because Canada got a win by default. So they haven't actually shown off any of their scores yet, which means they have a bit of secrecy going into this match.
Yeah, but still, you could tell what their strong suits are just based on previous scores.
Yeah. And what's nice about this match, I think, is that France has been pretty consistently being good at the long note picks in these pools, and Canada has been the opposite. A little bit weaker on the Ellens, really strong on the accuracy and tech picks and the SVs, but France, no slouch in SVs either, so there's going to be a very clear dynamic, I think, for pick order between these two teams.
Indeed.
And the winner of this match will go on to face South Korea in semifinals, which is not the most fun opponent to see in your next round.
Oh yeah, Koreans definitely starts to become a lot better later on as pools get harder. And if you're in that position, I think Canada has a bigger chance of just performing well against them. I'm not so sure on France.
We'll have to see what happens, at least after this match. We can also see, there's going to be some interesting comparisons that players are going to be able to make once the scores are actually made for quarterfinals. But bans are coming out, France losing the role, banning first, getting Super Anime Groove out of the way. I think that's what they banned in the previous match as well.
Yeah, it might be just too fast jacks, and also Somewhere I Belong.
Fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
Against a team like France that's very strong on LNs, I cannot blame Canada for wanting to get rid of one. But that does mean that both SV maps are open.
It will be interesting to see who does better. They're kind of wild cards, like SVs have just gotten weirder and weirder.
Yeah, I think Massacre is the more straightforward one overall. It's the one that's easier to stay consistent on, but Marissa is, I think, potentially a bit harder to learn. It's kind of weird because the memorization pick is more consistent than the reading pick. But regardless, Chitril coming out as the first pick out of Canada. Break the law reel.
Break the law reel, yeah, that's the new word. I wonder, we should just rename Chitril to Break the Law Reel, that should rename.
Yeah, we should contact T-Pazolite and have them completely rename the song.
Yeah.
But fair pick from Canada. Consistency, stamina, O-trills, pretty much their exact wheelhouse in this case. Looking to take advantage of the potential inconsistencies when it comes to Rice on the side of France. But I think Chitril is a bit of an interesting choice in that respect, because on these stamina picks, France has been very consistent.
Yeah, I think they're relying more on their accuracy rather than them having misses or getting misses.
Yeah. The misses really start to come out on the tech picks when it comes to these kinds of situations. So maybe Canada's just trying to get the more closely matched ones or the more risky picks out of the way. Like Chitril, it's weird to call a jump stream pick risky, but when you have teams of this caliber facing off against each other, something like this is definitely risky.
Yeah, and players are witching their GLHFs, and we're getting into the pick. Now let's see what they're made of. The client's having a bit of a hiccup. I might add.
Okay, there we go. All 6 players loading in, just waiting for them to line up with each other. And we're getting right in the way of pick number 1 out of a potential 11 for this match. Accuracy's in this early zone, looking pretty good. Aura a bit behind compared to everyone else, but other than that, it seems very consistent across the board.
Yeah, this is pretty early on, though. They might change as the map progresses because stamina starts to be a factor then. Especially with how one-hand trilly it is, it's kind of exhausting if you're not extremely consistent at this BPM.
Yeah, but coming into this first little break section, I mean, we haven't really gotten into the meat of the chart yet, but the build-up, we see Loaf as a Bread and Piggy both at that 99.9 accuracy range. The only one close to that on France right now is Pachu's at 99.87. But Dale is right on par with the other 2 players on France, so that accuracy lead going into this more extended stream that's coming up will be in Canada's favor.
Yeah, definitely. It's almost here after this build-up, and indeed, just Canada, it's looking really strong on this, on just pure rice accuracy, which is their game plan, I think. Just relying more on their pure rice accuracy. I wonder if they will pick a hybrid. But I don't know, a lot of the hybrids seem to be fairly LN biased, so maybe not.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to see what we're going to be seeing through this. I think France is going to start running out of picks a lot faster. Because the hybrids, while there are some significant LN elements, I think they do tend to favor the rice teams more so than most hybrids would. Like, Cronier is very physically demanding, but I guess we'll have to see how this match goes after the more straightforward picks for France get out of the way, such as LFO, which I could expect to see as their first pick. But no combo breaks up to this first break in Cheatriel here. And accuracy is still extremely solid from everyone. The fact that the lowest accuracy right now is 99.71 from Azure is insane.
Yeah, and then we got someone like Piggy just sporting a 99.9, which is really insane.
Yeah, especially like Dale might have actually had some small accuracy issues, or his hit concentration. Oh, but Aura does find a combo break, and that's going to give a nice little bit of cushion to Canada.
Yeah, exactly. I'd say it's kind of inevitable that someone misses on such a long shot like this. And unfortunately, it's happened to France first. They were most likely, I think, to miss because they do, as you said, lack a bit on the pure physicality element, which is also why it would be a good idea for Canada to pick something like Thronier if they can handle the LN elements of it.
Yeah, but that as long as Canada's able to hold on to this combo, they should be able to take this point back, and I think they would have regardless of whether Aura broke or not. The accuracy advantage just seems too heavy in favor of Canada right now, even with Dale starting to drop off just a little bit from where he was before. He is still ahead of Azuber after all, so there's going to be a safe point to start off this match for Canada. Very impressive team score, 2.98 million. All 3 players above 990k. And Aura actually almost still making that 990k mark with the miss. Ridiculous accuracies across the board. Lowest score being 989.8.
Yeah, that is just insane. It was close, actually. It's just that they are slightly behind in terms of their rice ratio, I think.
Oh, Massacre coming out immediately from France. I don't know if I like this pick. I'm not sure. I'm not so sure about this one.
Yeah, I would just go straight ahead for LFO and leave Massacre a bit down the line as they start to exhaust their LN picks.
Yeah, but my issue with this pick is that they picked it against Canada,
who is known to be very good at SVs.
Yes, they have been performing very well in SVs in every round, and I think I've mentioned this in plenty of other streams, but Canada got 3rd seed on the SV qualifier.
Oh yeah, that's what it is. Kind of risky, yeah. But you gotta remember that the previous SV wasn't... The SV qualifier was slightly different than the one we're seeing here. They might look for some kind of combo break from the side of Canada because of how repetitive it is, or something like that.
Yeah, looking for maybe mind blocks, or just, something random happening in the memorization section. Lofus being in on this kind of interests me.
Who's usually playing for the SVs?
That's actually a good question. It might be Lofus normally, but I just didn't peg Lofus as the kind of person who would be in on these kinds of picks.
Is he?
But these are the squads that we're going to be seeing for this map. Lots of tests right out the gate. 200s from Lofus right away. But also a few on the side of France throughout Elementaires and Azubur. So these accuracies are quite close together. This intro should be pretty telling, though, because there's a few really awkward patterns to get right.
It is looking pretty close altogether.
Yeah, more accuracy drops from Azubur and Elementaires is going to give Canada a slight accuracy lead now.
But we're still not at the memorization heavy section, which is going to come up now. And it can switch here because the rhythm itself is pretty tricky, and reading doesn't give much of a telling point about how the rhythm actually plays, so you have to memorize what exactly happens in the rhythm. It can be kind of awkward, especially with how repetitive the patterns are.
Yeah, but looking at this score bar, it just keeps flipping back and forth with the accuracy changes. This is so close. We have the more difficult memorization section here. I'm baffled right now. This is like 2,000 points at most. And that's like, on a map with this few nodes, a 200 will flip the lead. And there's a miss! A miss from Lofus might give that lead back to France, but the accuracy is still holding it back up. It's still staying on the side of Canada.
Oh, it's flickering right now. It's still flickering. It just flickers. It seems like
so close.
Yeah, on the side of France, we see a bit of struggle accuracy. I'm a bit concerned about this being their first pick out of the gate.
Yeah. Also, Lofus is not going to make it up to the 400 combo mark.
Oh, that's right. So it was
a good place to miss, but unfortunately, it is the only miss in the lobby, and that's going to give France the win by just about 4,000 points.
That was close all the way through.
991k from Piggy, but it's not going to be enough to take down France on that pick. Turns out France gets their own pick, but that's kind of an interesting thing, because I feel like Canada would have picked this eventually, or had higher potential to pick it, and that could have been a really interesting map to see a breakpoint on for France.
And yeah, Patou's also, I think, getting a nice score there, just 100 that slightly weight the score down, and there's also very little notes, so you don't usually see very high scores on it, because just one judgment can really spell the difference there in scoring.
Indeed it can, but we're going back to Canada's pick now, and I could definitely see something like Rain Shower coming out, or Thinking of You if they want to get that last super straightforward rice pick out of the way.
Yeah,
but they go with Rain Shower. They go with Rain Shower, going for the technical picks, going for the chokes from France, and just trying to outclass the accuracy overall.
Yeah, that's a fair pick, definitely. But at the same time, it is chokeable, so we could potentially see Canada missing instead of France. Last time I saw France... Hold on, did France play this? Which match was it again?
Well, the only other match it could be is France versus, or their first match this weekend, which was France versus the Netherlands.
I was just looking for the country they were fighting. I think
It was the last point they got, and they had one mess on it, but their accuracies were extremely good. 3 200s, 2 200s, and 2 200s with a miss. So not going to be an easy squad to defeat on a map like this, especially if Canada finds any breaks here.
That's true. And it can happen, but we did see how well they performed on Cheat Reel, which was...
yeah, they had an incredible team score.
Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me if we saw something like Cheat Reel happen here, but then again, it's also very, very technical in terms of accuracy and just not missing because of how mini-jack it is.
Yeah, definitely. I think whether the accuracy lead is going to be in favor of Canada should be apparent in the first half, but those combo breaks I think are going to be more likely to happen in the second half. So once we have an accuracy lead in that break, we'll be looking out for those combo breaks to see if anything happens between those really complex mini jack patterns.
But yeah, this is kind of the easiest section. We'll see if there's... Right now it is flickering, so the potentially only place where it actually... Canada is looking very strong on this intersection, and it's them leading the point right now.
Yeah, Loafus of Bread and Piggy both at the 99.8s, above everyone on France except Aura, who has the highest accuracy in the lobby right now. But Azubur and Pitu's falling behind with Dale, with Canada's third being ahead of both of them. So that accuracy is squarely in favor of Canada going into this second half. So we're going to have to watch Canada side for any breaks to see if anything happens. But without a break, as long as this accuracy stays consistent, Canada should be able to safely take this second point in their favor.
Well, there is still the very tricky section to go.
Yes.
Where I think anything can happen. Even teams like Brazil could miss the...
Yeah, anyone could miss in this section. I mean, you know, the nerves of being on stage in the World Cup is a lot of pressure to deal with, especially with as tricky of a map as this. Aura doing an amazing job with that accuracy, holding higher than all of the players on Canada. Loaf is finding a huge accuracy drop, though. No combo break, but that score lead just shrunk really hard.
And it's going to flicker now because of that.
Yeah, Aura's accuracy is helping carry France and looking to potentially take this lead back.
Oh, no.
Oh my god! Who's taking it?
A single 200 can spell the difference here. From either
and Piggy finds the drop, and France is going to take a break point right away!
Oh god, that's an extremely good point to take if you're France, because they have the advantage on LNs, and there's not a lot of like LN biased left.
There's not a lot of LN biased picks in this pool in general, or at least ones that, you know, an LN centric team should be heavily advantaged on. So getting that breakpoint on a Rice pick is huge. And they still have LFO open. They have LFO and Screw OO Screw, and then all three hybrids open.
They also have Marissa if they're feeling spicy.
After how close Massacre was, I don't think Marissa would be a good pick at all. I didn't think Massacre was a good pick. They kind of got lucky that Lofus ended up dropping combo on it.
Yeah, that's true. But right now, France is probably going to take advantage of this and just pick LFO. It's their best pick by far, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But Canada is more than capable of playing a map like LFO. The density should favor their team pretty well, or at least favor them more than the other LN picks available.
I don't know, Screw would be a pretty...
Yeah, I think Screw just requires a little bit more coordination than LFO does, so Canada should be a bit more comfortable on LFO.
Yeah, it's true. I don't actually remember the map too well, I just remember it being kind of hybridy. But still, hybrid maps does favor France. They might also go for alone intelligence if they want to capitalize on Canada's. It seems like they choke a bit on this pool, so they could go for a chokeable map like Alone Intelligence that also rewards LN coordination releases.
Yeah, as we expected, we saw the LFO pick come out now, which I think should have been France's first pick, honestly. But they came around to it. I think this is one of the strongest picks for France overall in this entire pool, other than Somewhere I Belong, which, was fairly banned by Canada.
Yeah.
But that being said, in the same way that France was able to take that point on Rain Shower, Canada's more than capable of performing on LFO.
Yeah, this match is really close, all things considered.
Yeah, and the density is no slouch. So France could run into some issues on this, depending on how they're feeling on this map specifically right now.
Yeah, I think someone like Saikan can slightly lag behind in terms of accuracy on a map like this. And if everyone on the side of Canada holds steady all the way through, they might also take a breakpoint. We might see a match that's all breakpoints back and forth.
Yeah, flashbacks to US versus Philippines from 2019, where there were 12 picks and 7 of them were breakpoints, or 11 picks and 7 were breakpoints.
Yeah. I don't remember that match too well, but that would be fun.
I remember it very well. But we are getting into LFO, the 4th pick, and potentially the point where France is going to start running away with this lead in this match.
Yeah. So far it's a pretty simple Ellen section. Nothing too tricky so far.
Yeah, the accuracy looks like it actually favors Canada right now, with Zaken being slightly behind. But it's so small of an accuracy lead that it doesn't even matter. Dale finding some major accuracy issues, and now that lead is squarely in France's favor. Oh, that was huge! A huge drop from Dale there.
Yeah, that just messed up his accuracy big time, which gives France such a great advantage coming into the next section, which Dale also has the potential to mess up even more on.
Yeah, this density can be very difficult to read through. Ooh, messing up that transition into that long LN. And France now has about a 25,000 point lead. Everyone gets through that burst just fine, but Dale still needs to climb up to that combo cap.
And Aura just, as usual, performing extraordinarily well on LNs, 99.83. And maybe climbing just a bit because of the density alone. But yeah, it's almost over now. We have like a bit of a roll thing pattern going on soon, which people might choke on, and then no, they did not. And this means there's the last density section. Dale just struggling a lot to act those.
Yeah, it kind of looked like he had some issues reading through that first half and was able to bring himself back, but 38 200s is not going to be doing much for your team when the opponents are getting 2, 7, and 5. So, Aura crushing that map. Patu's also doing extremely well. France just dominating on the long note side of things.
Yeah, right now it's 1 in 3 in favor of France. So Canada really needs to dig deep here, pick something that they know they can win, and I think it's gonna be Thinking of You. Just
yeah,
because
I think they need to go with something more straightforward, something they know they can accuracy well. Thinking of You should be, I think, their pick here. Get themselves back, get the momentum back in their favor, and do what you can to just hold down your own picks. And there it is, Thinking of You coming out as the next pick. Need something to calm their nerves down, because they definitely need something to bring themselves back in this match.
Also, do you know if you don't know? Do you know if you don't know? That sounds weird. Has been picked at all.
How many times?
Like, say that. How many times you don't know has been picked?
It's been picked a couple of times. I know it was picked in UK versus South Korea, but I don't know about anything else.
Yeah, I just remembered it being ignored all the time. So it could be a potential pick for Canada. We'll see.
It was also picked in Indonesia versus Chile. And okay, it was banned in Brazil versus China, though.
Apparently lots of people don't really care for that pick in particular.
Okay, it's been picked 7 times? Yeah, 7 times. It's been picked quite a few times.
Yeah, that's a decent amount of times. I suppose there's been some matches that haven't been streamed where it's gotten picked.
I think it's just been a lot of the Asian teams when you and I are asleep that are picking them.
Yeah. True.
But we're going into thinking of you here, a more straightforward pick that I think Canada is going to feel a lot more confident about, and hopefully bring them to a point where they can get some confidence back under their belt after that break point.
Indeed. This is also much shorter, so potential to mess up much lower overall than compared to something like Sheet Reel. But then again, I haven't really seen many people mess up on Sheet Reel aside from the teams that are really weak on the physical side.
Yeah, right now it looks like France actually is pulling out a bit of an accuracy lead. Dale falling behind compared to everyone else in the lobby at the low 99.7s. The next lowest, Azuber with 99.77, matching roughly with Lopus of Bread.
Yeah, it's still a bit flickering, and gotta remember this, like, I think this is one of the major stream sections that they're in right now. Before there was
Dale finding a miss, not going to be too good for them, especially with France holding that accuracy lead, which means that France actually has a 1 miss gap right now.
Seems like Canada is slightly underperforming, but yeah.
Lopez finding a break as well. This is really falling apart for Canada. They're going to need some misses from France, but on these more straightforward picks, I just don't see it happening from France. They're also playing extremely consistently today.
As you said that.
Yeah, that's what happens around here.
I see how it is, France. Well, they still have an accuracy lead overall. They did struggle a lot.
It is still 2 full combos to 1, so France should still have that advantage, especially coming into the ending of this jump stream, though that lead is shrinking a little bit. The accuracy lead looks like it has gone into the favor of Canada, but we're out of the main streams, and unless something insane happens here, I think France is going to take yet another breakpoint and bring it 4-1. But this is close.
It can happen, we'll see. It's just one more stream section, I think. Here is going to spell doom.
Okay. No one broke. No one broke. Down to about 3,500 points, but not going to be enough for Canada to bring it back. 4-1 in France's favor and on France's pick.
Yeah, yet another break point, apparently. They're looking very strong. Aura, what is that thinking of you score?
994. Yeah, insane team score from France yet again. Really good accuracies from Canada, but it was those misses that did them in the end. And now France is on a roll. 3 picks, 1 in a row. Actually, 4 picks, 1 in a row. 2 breakpoints. And they have their choice of many maps in this pool. And they're going for a tactical timeout, which is fair. Bring themselves together, make sure that they get the right picks out of the way, and push the advantage that they have without stressing too much about it, I think.
Yeah, that's probably the problem here.
I could see Screw coming out as the next pick. I could see Cronier coming out, although I think Cronier would be a relatively weak pick. Alone Intelligence or Endless, I think, are better hybrids for France's side.
Yeah, Endless does have a very coordination and reading heavy section for the LN side of thing at the very ending.
Yeah, actually, so thinking about this, I think Alone Intelligence and Endless are a bit more LN heavy, which would give France the advantage in terms of the overall LN requirements for those 2 maps. But they are a lot trickier to keep combo on, which is where we've seen France find faults in the past. Whereas Cronier is pretty straightforward for most of them. There's a few mini jack patterns, there's a few like weird bursts and techie kind of patterns, but most of it is kind of broken jump stream with some elements thrown in, which should favor, which would be, I think, potentially better for France in terms of being consistent on it. And Marissa coming out, I don't like this pick. I don't like it.
They are pretty strong on the right side of things, and yeah, I don't like this pick either.
Massacre was really close, and they only got it because Lofus missed. I really do not like this pick at all.
They might just feel extra confident on SVs for some reason, thinking they can at least FC them.
Maybe they're trying to take advantage of the inconsistencies that Canada is showing right now, because those bursts are not easy to stay consistent on.
Yeah. There's a lot of very weird patterns in here, much weirder than Massacre, which is maybe what they're thinking it would give them an advantage on overall.
Maybe, but we have pretty much the same SV rosters from both teams. I think it is actually the exact same SV rosters for each team. We can expect Piggy to do extremely well, I think. He has been extremely consistent when it comes to the SV maps. Piggy has...
he diverted away.
We're getting a nice abort here. Or we should be anyways, because that was early enough in the map.
Yeah, it's not 30 seconds in.
So we'll get an MP abort and get Piggy back in here.
Question mark? Asks Patus. Yeah. So overall, I think that France would have... I'm still not sure on the Xronier. They could potentially pick it, but it's still a bit risky with how dense it is. I'd say that something like Alone Intelligence would be better for them, because I think they can stay consistent in such a pick, much more so than Endless at least, and it favors the coordination and release abilities a lot more than Endless does.
But we'll be getting back into the SV pick Marissa very quickly. I think this is a really good chance for Canada to take momentum back, though. Given that Canada's, like I said, very strong in SV overall. And Massacre, I think, was just potentially a fluke win from France because of the miss from Lofus. As long as things go decently for Canada, they should have an accuracy advantage on this.
Yeah, they might take a breakpoint of their own. Let's see.
Here we go. All 6 players maintaining themselves in the lobby. And here we go with Marissa. Oh, Piggy having some issues with those first notes. Understandable. They're a little bit tricky on if you're not ready for them, but... Oh, that burst being very difficult to catch. Elementary's dropping a lot of accuracy there. Oh, that wasn't even a mistake from Piggy at the beginning. It was a client error. Oops.
Yeah, as usual.
Thank you, client. But Canada has a strong accuracy lead right now, especially with Elementaires messing up that first burst. And there is another one coming up in about 200 nodes.
Oh no, this Trill, it's very hard to stick. Oh no, look at that Elementaire! He hit 250s right on that Trill pattern, which is going to give a very strong advantage to Canada.
Next burst, ooh, Lofus, and actually I think all 3 members of Canada finding some issues on that burst that time, but still maintaining that lead. This is really close, just like Massacre was.
Yeah, I'm not sure about...
But Elementary's accuracy is low enough that it's letting Canada stay in the lead right now and extend that lead.
Azabear mistimed a bunch of those LN patterns.
Oh, and a combo break! I want to see if anyone messes up this beat skip here.
Yeah, we'll see.
No one messed it up. Okay, so everyone still has their combos except Patus, who missed earlier on in that transition. This ending can be pretty tricky though, but Canada has a bit of leeway here. But one mess up can be a huge accuracy drop. Ooh, Lofus finding some 100s, but not enough to change that lead very much, and not a combo break. So looking good for Canada so far.
Yeah, this is probably going to be Canada's now, unless something happens like a big combo break, because Elementaire got 50s, which is almost as bad of a score discrepancy as just straight up missing.
Yeah, and there goes the end of that map, and that's kind of what I was saying. Canada's very, very strong on SVs, and you can't really trust being able to beat them on this kind of map, especially when there are other more viable picks for France. I think one of the hybrids would have been a much better pick in this scenario.
They really should have, since they were up a point, they took a break point, right? And they had a pick of their own. They really needed to take advantage of that, just pick something
Yeah.
they were sure that Canada was at least slightly weak on.
Yeah, and not to mention that was even bigger of a score difference than LFO was, and France very safely won LFO, so that was a monstrously bad pick from France, and that's going to give Canada a real chance to get back into this match. And You Don't Know comes out as the pick from Canada, going for the more technical pick here. I think this is their best pick right now available.
There's also Yosakura there, but I'm not sure about how well they do on speed streams. But considering their overall performance, I think that something like that is slightly more riskier than something like You Don't Know. So true, I think this is their better bet. And You Don't Know... I remember this map having a diff name of epistemology, I think.
I have no idea what that is.
It's a philosophy subject about knowledge.
I see. But Canada's got a strong pick under their belt, hoping to bring it back to 3-4, but they will need at least one more break point in this match to at least get themselves to the tiebreaker at this point.
And this was very mini-jack heavy, right?
Not necessarily mini-jack heavy. There are a few mini-jacks in this map, but the more important thing about the mini-jacks is that they're at 230 BPM.
Oh yeah, that's why they felt difficult. It's very fast.
Very, very fast. Very easy to choke. Not to mention that they are surrounded by bursts, which can make them even harder to react to.
Yeah, and some of the burst patterning is also pretty tricky to pull off, like with good accuracy. You can just straight up cheese them if you want to, but they're very crazy. And also look at those midi-jacks into a triple. That's very harsh.
Yeah, it looks like France might have an accuracy lead, potentially. Yeah, Lofus had some issues along with Dale, and Aura and Patuz are able to hold on to some good accuracy and give themselves a lead going into the more physically demanding portions of this map.
Yeah, Aura being the MVP right now on the side of France, sporting a 99.8. It is flickering slightly because Patuz and Azuber having a slight score discrepancy, while Dale does have a probably the lowest score in the lobby right now. But Lofus has been climbing since his initial mistake.
And that lead looks like it's going in favor of Canada right now, with Azuber and Patuz continuing to drop accuracy. And Dale is staying very consistent. He dropped down to that 99.55 pretty early. And there's a 200 on mini jack, but he's been staying very consistent overall. And now Lofus and Piggy are both ahead of Aura, who is still the highest on France. But these accuracies are still really close. This score gap is almost nothing.
It is so consistently dense with how just all over the place bursty it is. That just staying consistent on this is really tough.
Dale messed up one of those trills, got one or two 200s, and France now has the smallest accuracy lead. We're going into the final technical section, and this might be where Canada needs to start getting that accuracy lead back up. Lofus and Piggy should be able to take an advantage out, and Azuber and Patuz might end up dropping a ratio like they have been before, but that lead is staying France's side right now.
Yeah, Dale unfortunately is slightly messing up here. Got himself a couple of unwanted 200s, which is really going to put a damper to his performance.
Jeez, that's insanely close.
Oh
France
my God.
with a third breakpoint in this match. Now there's yet again 2 breakpoints ahead of Canada, and Canada needs to get something going now.
Yeah, it's insane how close yet so far this match has been.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
always
like, all of the picks that Canada has lost have been within, like, 3 to 4,000 points except for LFO, which kind of confuses me why Screw hasn't come out. Okay, there it is. It's come out now.
it's come. What? Where is Screw?
We did it, we did it.
We did.
I'm so good at predicting picks.
Yeah, right. I think you just picked. I think France just listened to
Yeah,
us
they're
and
just
just
listening to me, and you tell them what to pick.
open epic. And then you can like.
But a very strong pick from France, though again, similar to LFO, this is in range of Canada being able to play it, assuming they're able to keep combo on it. Dale having some issues holding combo on LFO, but this one's a lot more Rice focused than the other two LM picks in the pool, and I think Canada might be able to take some decent advantage out of that if France finds some mistakes.
And yeah, this one, not entirely sure about how this will go. It's one of the wild card picks, which means it's wild, which means you don't really know what's gonna happen. I'd say at least it's as many different types of patterns in this. And it kind of favors LN, but at the same time it also has certain Rice elements to it too.
The physical requirements of this are pretty high, especially with how quick the bursts are. But a lot of this is about coordination between those, the triple LNs and the quad LNs, and getting into those and out of them into bursts. But then there's also those column 1 LNs that just hold themselves in the middle of a bunch of polyrhythmic Rice patterns and fast streams that can be really hard to coordinate if you're not ready for them.
Yeah, so basically very wild card. Let's try to manage to describe a bunch of different patternings.
Oh, Dale finding a mistake really early,
a
very significant one too, dropping down to 95%.
I'm wondering if that was a client thing, but it looks like it's not actually.
Yeah, it looks like he just messed up one of the inverse transitions at the intro, and now he's going to have to bring up his accuracy a lot if they want to bring this back.
Oh yeah, this map was also filled with some shields as well. Stability not being stable right now. I'm finding some misses.
Yeah. Zayken also trading that miss back. Zayken's accuracy lower than Stability's right now, but Aura and Koidex both higher than Dale right now. Piggy roughly tied with Aura at the moment, so it's just the difference between Koidex and Dale that's making this score gap.
Yeah, Dale is very far behind, which spells the entire difference really in terms of scoring and stability. Also missing some more now.
Yeah, continuing to find breaks or combo breaks in this break section. And that lead for France is stretching out to about 20,000 points, and there's going to need to be a team, the team needs to fall apart right now if Canada wants to take this point. Aura does find a drop.
But it's pretty clean.
Yeah, it is pretty clean, so it's not going to be enough to give Canada any kind of advantage. But we're getting into some of the more tricky patterns in this chart, especially coming up to this ending. Dale finds a break, though.
Yeah, he's been finding lots of breaks here. And Pig is messing up really harshly here, which means Koidex is the only one in this entire lobby holding an FC in this.
Indeed, one FC through the whole lobby, and that's going to give France their final point for victory, knocking Canada out of the tournament in top 16. And France will move on in the losers bracket to semifinals to face South Korea next weekend. Not the most fun team. I think I said this exact thing earlier, but not the most fun team to look forward to. South Korea has a very rich history of dominating the Mania World Cup, and seeing them in losers this early is kind of scary.
And, as harder the pools are, the better they're probably going to be.
Yeah, the more scary they get with the more difficult Rice patterns especially.
Yeah, and I think some players on the side of France does struggle a bit on more denser maps. I think Patus would do best out of them all.
Yeah. But, with that...
Aura.
Yeah. With that, that's the end of this match, and France will be moving on in this losers bracket. That is the final match of the quarterfinals as well. So we have our losers bracket matches all set up. We got Vietnam, Indonesia, we've got Philippines, Singapore, we got Japan, China, and we've got Korea, France. 7 Asian teams and France in the losers bracket. And then our 2 winners bracket matches for the semifinals: United States, Malaysia, and the United Kingdom and Brazil. 2 matches that are not going to want to be missed. But
indeed,
yeah, I think this is going to be a really intense semifinals.
Yeah.
But with that, that's going to end off the matches, and we're going to be getting into the showcase relatively soon. We'll be having a short intermission to get everything prepared for the showcase, but we will keep the stream open. So stick around, and we'll be back in about 10 to 15 minutes for the semifinals map pool showcase. Do you have anything else to say before that happens, Davy?
No, not much. We'll have okay.
We'll have a break. We'll have an intermission. We'll be good. We'll see you guys in about 10 to 15 minutes. You don't want to miss this.
Don't miss the
showcase. The map pool is going to be getting insane.
They're going to murder you. They're going to come into your house, knock on your door, and then stab you because it's just that hardcore.
Yeah, it's that hard. All right, we'll see you soon. All right, everybody. We are back again. We did not change commentators, so it is still myself, Toph Daddy, joined by Davy for the semifinals map pool showcase.
And it's going to be difficult.
Yes, difficult. Yeah, what? I didn't know that semifinals map pools were supposed to be hard, but I think we'll get right into that difficulty with the first map in the pool, which is going to be Strange Program
at 1.2. Yeah, that is very fast at 258 BPM. If you're not comfortable with that, you'll be straight up mashing.
Yeah, we're jumping up an extra 8 BPM from last round's speed jump stream pick.
Hold on, I think you might want to lower the scroll speed. It's looking really fast right now. Oh, it's BPM scale, that explains it. For some reason it's on a BPM scale, I'm not sure why.
But we're looking good now, but this is, like I said, about an 8 BPM jump from Thinking of You, but added on top of that, this is a lot denser than Thinking of You is. And a little bit trickier in terms of the patterning as a whole.
This is a lot of one-hand trills here, which just means it's a lot trickier to pull off. Especially at this BPM, controlling that just BPM range is going to be very hard. But other than that, fairly straightforward. Lots of Rice favorite teams, such as, for example, Brazil, will be looking towards picking this.
Yeah, people like South Korea or the United Kingdom would be very comfortable with this kind of pick. But this does have a similar structure in terms of like the frequency of the jump stream as Thinking of You, where you get a longer string of jump stream and then you get a bit of a break that kind of focuses on simpler patterns and jacks, and then it just throws you right back into the mix.
Yeah, I think the pauses between the jump streams is a lot shorter than Thinking of You, so it feels much more constant to play. It's lots, and it's also lots of like anchoring and mini trills all around.
Yes, the classic sharp null instrumentality pack patterns of anchors and trills. But also notable in that the last fifth is pretty dense hand stream, which I think is going to be a huge choke point for a lot of people, especially those players who aren't able to physically keep up with the the BPM of, at 258 already.
There's a couple of 1.5 bursts too, which is going to be something to look out after. I think this part is a bit more lenient in terms of patterning. Okay. I think this is almost over, and then it's like...
Yeah, here's the hand stream. That last hand stream burst is going to throw a lot of people off, but that'll be the finisher of the chart. As soon as the hand stream actually ends.
Yeah, and that's the 1.5 burst, I think, was it?
That was the 1.5 burst right at the end. But that's going to be it for our speed jump stream pick, and we'll be going right into some hybrid action. A pretty familiar map for many people, and this is going to be more of the 50-50 balanced hybrid of the pool. Indeed. Of Emeraldus 1.1x. I've seen this too many times to not know what's going on in this map. It's very tricky pattern-wise. Very, very tricky. It's easy to miss on a lot of parts in this.
I haven't played it myself, personally. I think it was on soft. Was it? I'm not sure.
It was in soft. It was in soft finals on 1.2, I believe, or 1.25 or something like that.
Yeah, now it's on 1.1.
It's easier, or maybe it was 1.1 or 1. I don't remember, or 1.15 potentially. But this is a slightly easier version than the one that was used before because of the down rate. But this is it's a relatively tricky map, but it's also very, very short and not too physically demanding. There's just a lot of points where chokes are going to happen and misses are going to be very easy to get.
And certainly very punishing because of how many mini jacks there are in general. If you just come in a bit too late on the shields, you're gonna be punished by a lot.
Yeah, there's also some tricky mini jacks on the sides of LNs, which can be hard to coordinate by themselves. And we're getting into a slower LN section here, and we'll be getting into the last third of the map, which is a little bit more LN heavy than the first half was.
That was a pretty technical route with some of the releases, or a bit technical, but not by too much.
Yeah, I got some first patterns here, some jacks to come in.
It's kind of all over the place.
Yeah, it will change the style, and we got some more streamy bursts happening here now. And that pattern right there is probably the hardest pattern in the entire map, but then it just kind of abruptly ends. We just kind of finish it off. A very, very hectic map for the first hybrid we see.
Definitely. I guess the name Chaos Control on the diff name is pretty apt.
Dude, Sonic reference. Gotta collect the Chaos Emeralds.
Oh, yeah.
But here comes LN Density right away, just moving straight along. Dodger's Gadget, 1.05 rate.
Very famous map.
Yes, very famous. Loved map, but a new upload for the rate. Thank you, Intelizer, for updating the map. And also note, it has an OD change up to OD7. So it's going to be a little bit harder to act than the loved version currently is. But we can get right into it.
Yeah, I should mention that the loved version is on OD6, which is a pretty big difference from 6 to 7.
Yeah, especially for LN charts like this. But this is, what you're going to notice about this is that the intro is pretty straightforward. There are a couple of tricky patterns throughout the intro, but it's a lot of constant streams with some LNs thrown in between it. There's some 3-note inverse that I think could be very tricky for many players, potentially mind-blockable too. But where this chart really picks up is the ending when the inverse starts kicking in.
Yeah, that is by far the most difficult section to just control on. I remember back when I was newer at the game, I struggled a lot to make the transition between the just wall that happens right there at the end. Overall, this map has a lot of features that you might expect from an Intelizer shot, such as the 1-4 holds while you're doing 2-3 stuff.
Yeah, the patented Intelizer LN patterns.
Yeah,
this map is chock full of it. That's literally what this is. It is Intelizer TM trademarked. No one's allowed to copy this because this is his.
Yeah.
And like the weird thing is, no one has really been able to capture this kind of this style of LNs, and that makes it very different from any other LN density chart that we've really seen through this tournament.
It is very specific indeed. But yeah, we're almost at the very tricky part. It kind of goes away and from the density patterns, but then
here comes the inverse. This part doesn't look that bad. Like, it's not very dense overall as far as inverse goes. I think there were even some parts in LFO that were denser, but the patterns are so hard to coordinate.
They're very unforgiving too, because of how there's so many long notes, like very long notes mixed in with shorter ones. Means it is generally very difficult to coordinate well. It's a very different skill, something you find more in the 7K charts at least, where you have more longer ones. But that's going to be it. We have just a short section to finish us off.
Pretty simple, at least compared to what we were seeing in the inverse section for the chorus, but that'll be pick number 3. Moving on to pick number 4, which is going to be some FFR core new mapper alert. Pizza 69 coming from Flash Revolution with From's QE. And I want to say that this is going to be something along the lines of Lawn Wake from Round of 16, because that's basically what FFR core is. It's just that.
So technical.
Yes, very technical, very mini jack heavy, very tricky overall. Patterns that you wouldn't really normally see in technical charts made by, your average Osu Mania mapper.
It's lots of like jack patterning here with some 1-8.
Oh, that burst looked disgusting. I think a lot of these burst patterning just makes them look really, really tough to hit. And I think accuracy is going to be a big deal on something like this.
Oh, indeed. There's a lot of broken rhythms here, including some swing, actually. I'm not sure when they'll be kicking in, but the snap is not very consistent.
Yeah, you will have a lot of trouble keeping the snapping consistent on a map like this. Not to mention that those patterns are really not manipulatable in the same way that a lot of the bursts earlier on are. Like, you have to be very specific about a lot of those, and you can't just cheat through them.
Yeah, like those bursts we just saw, that was one of them. Where it's just... yeah, it's not manipulable at all.
Yeah, and also noteworthy is that this is less than 2,000 notes in total, and it's just over 2 minutes long, so very short, very easy to lose a lot of points all at once with a misread.
Yeah, especially those kind of patterning where it goes stas back and forth. I always find those difficult to hit, and when you up the BPM this much, it gets a lot harder. And then you have...
a bombardment of difficult patterns throughout this entire map.
You might see this banned a lot, I think, because of how choke heavy it is.
Indeed, and there goes our first technical pick. 2 rice picks out of the way, and we'll be getting right into a third one here. A map made by Mifa, 350 BPM streams. It'll be Shiki, Angelic Layer.
And if you don't know, they very recently passed away. So after this, unfortunately, we'll be...
Yeah, we'll be asking for a moment of silence after this map plays through, but we'll be getting into an explanation for this. And this is like Yozakura, but higher BPM.
Yep, it's just single streams. The streams are a bit more constant, but with the... I think the patterning is slightly comfier.
Potentially comfier, but it's just, I think overall it's just going to be uncomfortable to get really good accuracy on, because you can see a lot of these streams are like split jump trillable to a certain extent, especially at this speed, But if you just try to split jump trill him, your accuracy is going to go down the drain.
Yeah,
So you have to
you're
be
going to-
very focused on something like this.
Yeah, it's a hard pick to be deliberate on, but if you cheese it too much, you're going to get hit on. Just your act is going to get hit by a lot.
Indeed, and you get the same kinds of breaks you did in Yozakura, some time to cool down between the faster streams. So I think we'll see a lot of the teams that favored Yozakura to have this same kind of reaction to Angelic Lair be very comfortable on it.
And yeah, it's just like one more speed stream section. Another thing about this is it's kind of hard to transition in and out of them.
Yeah, especially with how abrupt that is. Like starting from nothing and going into 350 BPM single streams is not a simple task.
Yeah. It's certainly very dense.
And we are approaching the end. Get a little bit of a break right before this ending of this song. And the final streams are kicking in. Lots of choke points in this map. But that is going to be it for Shiki Angelic Lair. And as we mentioned, out of respect for Shiki and the musical influence that they have had on rhythm games as a whole, we will be having a moment of silence before moving on to the next pick. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for that moment of silence. And thank you, Shiki, for all of the music that you have provided and the influence that you have had on rhythm gaming music and music as a whole. But with that, we will be moving on to our sixth pick in the pool. And this is going to be our Ellen wildcard.
Pretty fast, I'd say.
Yeah, the notes say Lancelot Kids Menu, which worries me. I'm worried because Lancelot is an extremely difficult chart.
It is.
And I can already see the influence from this, the mini jacks and 1/3 patterns. I mean, it is Penorari, which is the same artist of Lancelot. So
Yeah,
we can
it's
see the influence between the music and the charts. But I think we're going to start seeing some more difficult patterns as we get out of this intro.
It's certainly pretty dense, but some very tricky coordination heavy sections too. Ooh.
Oh, yes.
Very tight gaps.
Tight gaps and some pretty difficult patterns to coordinate overall. Some weird transitions into and out of inverse. And I think where we're going to see some bigger things is the chorus that's coming up here.
Yeah, I'd expect so. I haven't seen this map completely, but just knowing the music, yeah, some pretty difficult control heavy pattern here. Ooh.
Yeah, lots of inverse, some jacks that are going to really throw you off, and that inverse is really tight and pretty fast at the I think that says 220 BPM, so not going to be a slouch to get through, and I think there's lots of points where the coordination is going to be extremely important to keep in mind.
I think some parts of this kind of reminds me of timing hell with the jack heavy focus and the tight gaps of those jacks. But that is going to be it, and we're going for our 7th pick, which is going to be more technical FFR core maps, Dev Null, Goblin.
Yes, a little bit different style than the most of the FFR core we've seen so far. This map focusing a lot on some slight bursts, but a lot of broken jump stream, I think, is the biggest theme of this. There's also a weird trill right at the beginning that I think is going to throw lots of people off because it changes snaps in the middle of it.
Yeah, just trills you always when you're playing Mania, or you're so used to being very, very consistent.
Yeah, BPM lines, let's go!
Let's go. I wonder if that's going to aid some people getting those lines.
But yeah, we're getting into the more bursty sections, the more broken jump stream areas. It's basically, I think the longest string of jump stream is generally about 9 to 16 notes, and then there's a gap between it. But once we get towards the end, there's an interesting kind of staircasey pattern that I think might be a bit of an interesting spot to look at for as far as the players are concerned with their performance.
There's like it's not as much choke points as QE, I think. It's the split drill there, which I'd say is also a choke point, because split drills at this BPM, very difficult. If you don't straight up miss there, you might just start to just drop your accuracy, I think. But oh yeah, it's pretty hectic throughout.
Yes, it is a very hectic chart. I would compare this kind of to how Emeraldus is, but this is a lot more consistent with its style. It's just, there's so much to worry about in this, and it just doesn't stop. You don't get a break in this map like you do in almost every other map in all of the pools so far.
Yeah, and it's also very stop and go kind of deal. Like you can see here, there was some 1-1 gaps there, but it just goes from burst in and out very consistently and fast. You gotta pay attention to that. Just transitioning in and then out of those bursty sections, those mini sections, I'd say.
Yeah, and with that second tech chart in the pool, we'll be moving into our first SV chart in the pool, and this is marked as the reading pick, Make It Funky Now by Rule Blazing.
Yeah.
A map I actually have not seen before.
Interesting. I think it's recent, I'd say. I'm not sure how. But yeah, funky stuff.
Oh, interesting patterns with these LNs. Those LNs are going to be pretty hard to time the releases for.
Yeah, you don't really get much of a visual aid in terms of when you're gonna release them.
Yeah, and some pretty repetitive patterns right there with those rolls, but we're getting into some less repetitive stuff here with some trickier gaps between the notes.
It seems to be, so far, it's a bit easier just to hit the patterning off than something like Marissa, but you might see it change soon. But yeah, overall, this overall style of it means there's a lot of stutters here and there, which might mess up ACK if you're not careful. And the LNs too are deceivingly tricky.
Yeah, and the patterns kind of change up in a way you don't necessarily expect, because those large gaps in those notes right there are not the easiest to read, especially with how the rhythms look like they play.
Yeah.
But I think a big part of this, I think the LNs are going to take a lot of work to get good accuracy, and I think that is one of the most difficult parts about this chart right now.
Indeed. So we might see some very LN proficient teams looking to pick this.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. That being said, it does look like a big part of the difficulty of this also comes from the fact that the SV styles between the reading changes, like on an eighth note basis. So that can be pretty difficult to read through if you're trying to read like one kind of stutter, and then it just changes intensity entirely, but still has that 1/4 pattern.
Yeah, it's slightly easier in terms of just getting the overall rhythm right. I'd say, than something like Marissa, where it's had so many tricky bursts too.
Yeah, so it just kind of moves away from that and moves more towards getting the SVs specifically.
Yeah, we'll be getting our hybrid now, marked as real.
Yes, this is the real hybrid of the map pool. This is, again, I don't think this is closer to a rice hybrid than anything. I think I would call this a rice hybrid, potentially. I think it's closer to a balanced, similar to Emeraldus was.
Yeah,
But this is pretty physically difficult, but I think one of the biggest challenges of Eagle Seeker, which I have just name dropped for some reason, I forgot to do it before.
I was going to do it while yeah.
So one of the biggest challenges of this comes towards the ending with reading through these LNs, although this part is also not the easiest to read through specifically.
It's also really difficult to time because of how the LNs constantly change snapping, which is something very common in Abraxas maps.
Yeah.
It's just very Abraxas.
Yeah, this is very Abraxas, but I think if you're going to try to compare this to something like Obfuscate from last year, it's not the same. This is quite a bit more straightforward than Obfuscate, and I think it's a lot easier to hold combo, but the accuracy aspect that Obfuscate brought with its complicated LN patterns and, you know, tricky overall reading requirement is still there, and accuracy is going to be a big part of this map.
Yeah, that's true, and some of these rice bursts here are not, and there's some jump boosts as well.
Yeah, some minor bursts of jump glitch, but the really fun part is coming into this chorus right after this break, where the reading requirement gets boosted up to 11.
Yeah, we're about to see some very strange elements. Ooh.
Yeah, hard to coordinate, hard to read through, and once this first half of the chorus gets through, we'll also be seeing some 1/3 LN patterns, which can be pretty hard to transition between the 1/4 and 1/3 streams.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me a bit of Endless in terms of overall style. We have, you know, the second half, or well, the ending, being very intense in terms of coordination compared to earlier sections.
Yeah, and this ending is not too difficult. It takes a little bit of a break from the difficulties of the chorus, but the ending pattern with the jump gluts is extremely difficult to be consistent on.
And there you have it. Now we're going to Acquaintance, which, if you're acquainted with the shark, was picked for rates, I think 1.15 or 2 or
yeah,
something.
It was something ridiculous. It was like 400 BPM in soft.
Yeah, funnily enough, this was picked way ahead in advance, and we did not know that Acquaintance was also going to be picked for soft, so that was a nice surprise.
Oops. I have that kind of thing happen all the time. I think it happened with my tryouts last year where I picked the round of 16 stream pick in my tryouts for the United States on accident.
Wow, he knows.
But yeah, this is kind of like a stream pick, but it's a little bit more technical than your average stream pick. So the speed requirement is going to be very high, but the patterns are a lot less orthodox than, say, what we're seeing in Angelic Layer.
Or the other FFR core picks. This one is fairly straightforward in terms of overall patterning, but to time it is a very different deal. It's kind of like the Silent Room shard we saw Shun on the quarterfinals, Shun and Pasame.
Yes, it is. The snapping changes are very frequent, and there are some mini jack patterns implicit into the streams that can be hard to coordinate and, you know, keep good accuracy on. So that comparison to Rain Shower could be pretty apt, just, you know, a little bit more on the streamy side rather than the technical and burst area that Rain Shower tested from last round.
It's also fairly long at 2 minutes and 50 seconds, much longer than the other FFR core picks, the technical picks. So we might see some teams who are very consistent on their rise wanting to pick something like this.
Yeah, definitely. Rice teams are going to flock right to this because there's no real LN difficulty, and I mean, I would hope not in one of the Rice picks. But this is definitely potentially one of the more physically difficult charts to, or maybe not physically difficult, but it's definitely one of those charts that accuracy teams are going to really want to hammer down because of how much more physically difficult some of the other picks in the pool are.
Yeah. That is true. And even for very physical players, they might find the streams very unorthodox to time.
Yeah, definitely. Because of those gaps in the rhythms that happen every now and again.
Yeah, this is the final section, pretty similar to some of the other stuff we've seen. And that is it.
And there we go. That is going to be Acquaintance, and we're moving into, after this, a long note map, a kind of hybrid long note, not like a hybrid map, but like a mixed long note map of sorts, where the density is going to take a lot to control, but the releases are insanely difficult. What is that score from Mysterion? I'm so sorry. I didn't want to react to any scores like that, but what? 6200s is ridiculous. This chart is so hard. It is extremely difficult to score on because of the nature of the releases throughout it and the coordination required, especially once we get to the chorus.
Yeah, I think someone like you would know very well how insane the coordination and release elements of this chart is. And I think we also saw this is another one of those soft picks with a high rate.
No, this was used on 1.0 in semifinals for soft.
Wow. But yeah, these are the releases we were talking about.
That section is so hard. That is so difficult to get right, and it repeats itself at the end. So you don't just, if you get a lucky run on the first one, you still have to do it again.
Yeah, so you have to be very consistent. There's a lot of like filler, I would say, but it's not. It's still very difficult to just accuracy right. Get good accuracy on.
Yeah, I think the consistency on this is going to be the weakest out of all of them, potentially. I think this is the hardest one to consistently full combo. I'm going to say that right now. This is one of the hardest to keep full combos on consistently. And, I mean, the accuracy goes the same way for this map out of all of the long note maps.
And this section is also really difficult to coordinate on.
Yeah, and this is probably the least dense, like, physically, as far as, like, the physical performance, but I think this is the hardest part to act, like, completely. And then we get into the repeated section again.
Yeah, it's so absurd to act. The gaps changes there, too. That's an insane
like I said, 6200s, I don't know how you do that. I really don't.
And
but that's the LN map. We got Stamina coming up.
Yeah, it's going to be Snows, I think it's called.
Yes, Snows. Soshita Kiseki, a Joel map. Not making speed this round. Not this speed map. We already got 2 of those. Joel's bringing us some really long, really difficult jump stream. 242 BPM jump stream.
At 4 minutes, too.
At 4 minutes. A little bit longer than Chitrio was last round, and a little bit, about 8 BPM slower than Thinking of You was. So, gonna have your work cut out for you with the Stamina pick here.
And if I'm not mistaken, it's also much denser than what was the Thinking of You? A lot denser. So at this BPM, it's going to be very exhausting, especially at 4 minutes long. Might see this pick either ignored or banned a lot. There's only 1 break, and everything else is jump stream mixed in with some rise here and there and some burst like we just saw. And soon there's going to be like a 3-minute no break jump stream after this section.
Cut out for your work. Gotta keep your stamina as good as you can keep it right now. I even players who are like super capable of keeping up with 240 BPM jump stream will potentially have trouble with something like this just because of how long it goes.
Yeah, it's not easy at all.
Starts off a little bit on the lighter side, but I'm sure we're going to be getting a lot denser as this stream continues.
Yeah, look at those. Those are some patterning right there. And some anchoring too. And yeah, now it gets to the regular old density.
Yeah, and these are very repetitive patterns as well. You can see them repeating every 4 notes and changing up the patterns, but that could be a point to notice as like a mind block potential because of how repetitive some of these patterns are. Though it does change, so you get your chance to sort of switch it up every measure that goes on. So it shouldn't be too much of an issue, but the repetition is there.
It definitely is. And yeah, it's just consistent. This is just gonna go for the entirety of the chart. There's no stop, there's no breaks on this train.
Yeah, and I mean, what can you really say anymore about this map? I mean, we've started, we've gone a minute and a half through the jump stream and it hasn't stopped, and it won't stop.
It won't stop at all.
It almost hits 5,000 combo through this entire stream.
It's like goes in and from more denser. Like it isn't completely consistent with its density. It changes from some lighter syncopated, I think, if I'm not mistaken, jumps.
Yeah, but we're starting to get into a lot more anchory patterns in this last fifth of the map.
Yeah,
you can see a lot of those outside column anchors here.
Yeah, so it just gets more and more stamina intensive.
Yeah, and I'm sure that many players at this point in the map are already going to be starting to fall apart with respect to their stamina.
Yeah, it's not friendly at all. It's a chart that just makes you sweat just by looking at it, I think.
Yeah, a lot of focus is going to be required to hold on to that stamina for the entire time, but doesn't quite feel as long as some of the other stamina picks we've seen because of how long it goes, but I'm sure when you're playing it, that completely turns itself on its head, where where something like Chichiro is going to feel shorter because you get those breaks and it's not extended for that long.
It's just when you're having to focus so long on one stream section that continues for like 3 minutes, it's going to take so much mental fortitude.
Yes, this is mental and physical stamina as a pick. But we'll be moving into Jacks. Jacks are coming back yet again after quarterfinals, and we got another very old song. I mean, I've been seeing a lot of people mention how old some of the songs are. Star of Andromeda.
There's like BMS songs.
Yeah, we got the classics coming in for semifinals.
Nice. Hold on, what's this called again?
Star of Andromeda, 155 BPM Jacks. Very fast.
Yeah, well, some of the there's some anchoring here, which might trip some people up, but Jack pattern.
Pretty much the extent of the longest jacks in the map. Most of the rest of it, I think, is pretty similar in structure to, like, how the patterns are structured as Anime Group from last round.
Yeah, pretty generous jack patterning. Like here, there's no like extreme anchoring present, and it does transition in and out from jack motion to more split trill or jump trill motions. So it isn't as stamina draining as what a 155 BPM short jack map might be like if it has those kind of anchoring elements to it.
Yeah, and you get ample breaks. You get that intro, which you get a good portion to smooth yourself in, and now you get this section to take a break, get your stamina back for the ending, which is roughly, similar jack patterns as the beginning, maybe a little bit more difficult, but you're not going to find too much different between those two sections.
Indeed. There's some quads here mixed in though, which I think is the
quads are the big thing, yeah.
Yeah. Thankfully, it's like timed to specific melodic elements in the song, so just having that in mind makes it a bit easier to play, just knowing the song, right? But yeah, it's a pretty low-risk pick overall, since there's nothing strange it throws at you. There's some weird bursts or whatever. It's just that if you're not at the physicality, it's going to be very rough.
Right. It's you can do it or you can't. That's it.
Yeah, Jax.
That I think is our last rice pick of the pool. So we'll be getting into the ends of each of our zones here, starting with the end of our hybrids next, which is going to be another Camellia song, another lemon map. We love lemon maps. And it's going to be
many lemons.
Cronial Hero. I don't know.
It's so weird to say it.
The X's change pronunciation. Sometimes they're Z's, sometimes they're C's. But okay, so you remember how I said I accidentally picked the stream map from round of 16 in 2019 for tryouts?
Yeah.
I did that for this map this year.
Oh my god.
Very heavily Jack focused. This is Discordia, but for semifinals. And that's literally it. It's the entire description you need, because that's what this map is.
Oh yeah, this kind of element patterns, they're not terrible for those who are used to like these kind of element patterns.
Yeah, it's 3-note inverse. We got the patented Intelizer patterns coming back. A lot of 4-note jacks, which could be weird. And also these stream patterns are extremely hard.
Yeah, very rough. Those kind of bursts part. You're gonna watch out for those because they're fast. They are out to get you if you're not careful. And how fast is this again? Is it actually 335? Because it doesn't feel like it.
335 is a base BPM, but it goes. So those streams were at 335 BPM. The most of this is around 160.
Yeah, I see. There's so much shields, and oh my god, the rice thrown in.
You remember those element patterns from Discordia? That's what it is.
Yeah, that is correct.
But yeah, actually, funny thing too is that this is map 2. This is song 2 of the trio between Cronier and Cronial Zero. The only missing one is Zeroa. But I don't know about. I will see what happens if we finish the trifecta.
I'll take that with it.
We'll see.
Yeah,
but
left panels.
Yep, just got the ending left. You saw those streams a little bit easier than pattern-wise. The jacks get denser in this than the intro were, but you know, it's kind of hard to say anything else other than Discordia Part 2.
Lemon Guy map, you know.
Classic Lemon Guy. Classic Lemon Guy.
Classic Lemon Hybrid, yeah. And we got LN releases now. Del Rio,
shoutouts to my man's Mashu, who really did not want this to be picked.
Well, unfortunate, but it's going to be picked.
It is. This is our LN release pick for this pool. A map by Araviel. Very, very difficult to coordinate.
Yeah, releases are classic Reveal patterns, I would say. Stuff like the 1, 2, 3, 4 staggered releases. And those kind of releases, quad releases, is something Reveal does a lot too. And those schlongs too, they might be very difficult to hack.
those jacks are also not trivial. Like, they don't look very fast, and I mean, they're at about 135 BPM, so most players of this caliber should be able to keep up with them, but coordinating those with the long notes and the releases throughout this is really hard. Not to mention that this is 3.5 minutes. So you have to keep up this focus for a very long time.
Yeah, and there's many bursts too. It might be the least physical pick, except for some of the SV maps we've seen so far. It is still very constant and requires your full attention at all times, lest you wanna mess up on some of those LN anchors.
Yeah. And aside from the intro, there is one break, but even then, in a 3.5 minute, one break is not really gonna do you too much good.
Yeah, and those were some very short long notes. But yeah, this is the break pretty much. Not extremely trivial. There's some releases in there too.
Yeah, and we're hitting this last third. We get kind of a repeat of the intro, or not intro, but the first little section after the intro.
Yeah, so I guess the chorus.
Yeah, so if you're good at like this map, you should be able. Okay, let me rephrase what I just said. If you're pretty good at the patterns that happen in that first bit of the hard part, you should have no problem with the rest of this map. It's all about keeping the consistency.
Yep. But this section does change it up a bit with some shorter LNs thrown into some longer ones, like the... It is... I think this is the most hectic section.
Yeah, it just starts ending the chart off with some very hectic long notes and some more difficult patterns overall. And then we get this opening pattern yet again, just to finish off the chart, and that's about it for our release pick.
Yeah, which means we'll be heading in towards some of our last picks. It's going to be a Toph map.
It's my map, and it's the last regular pick of the pool. It's my map, and it's SV's. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh no, it's Cloud by EasyFG. Shoutouts to 2017 Mini World Cup for 7 key.
Also, I love that. Oh yeah, it's the player. Oh, yours.
Okay, let's go. But yeah, it is a pretty weird map overall. I think you could consider it partially reading, and there are some sections that you really just have to know how they work, because there are lots of slowdowns that you will not expect in this. And this is very memo heavy.
You need to memorize the music pretty much, because some of those...
Yeah, you really need to know what's going on. A lot of the patterns stay pretty constant in terms of their snapping, but, that doesn't really help you when the gaps change so heavily like they do in this.
Yeah, not only do they, change so much, the scroll speed also goes from fast to slow, fast to slow, fast to slow, like that, so that's training.
I want to note that this ending, the person playing this is on really slow scroll speed. That part right before goes up to about 2.2x SV at the peak, or 1.7 or something. You can't sight read that if you have your full scroll speed. And this ending just throws everything at you.
Oh.
Okay, there it goes. I think that ending is going to trip a lot of people up.
Yeah, that is by far just one of the most SV shockful shot we've seen so far. And,
but yeah, that is our last free mod pick of the pool. All we have left is our tiebreaker, and I don't know if anyone guessed it, but a recently ranked map, Parts by Mint. And that score from Mysterion should scare you. 964k from a player of as high a caliber as Mysterion.
Now, yeah, this map, it's a lot harder than our previous semifinals tiebreaker, which was Necreus Snowmelt. By a lot, I think. I think this one is a map that just on my peak I can barely get an S on this, and if I'm not very warm I can like 92, 93. It's really hard. And as you said, this was recently ranked too. I helped in the ranking process of it. As in I nominated it. So I know this map pretty well, I'd say. But yeah, this map is full of lots of that, like dump heavy rise patterning, and I think one of the most heaviest parts, or at least the most constant part about this map, is the rise elements.
There are some extremely difficult burst patterns, and I think that's what we're really going to be focusing on for at least the first half. I think the Ellens are going to be a lot more obvious once we hit the second half.
Yeah, there's like two very long notes heavy sections, and they're nothing to scoff at either. They're very difficult in their own rights, especially the very last one, which is... it's very difficult to time.
Yeah, and I think one of the more polarizing sections as far as the burst goes is actually going to be coming up after this upcoming break, which has bursts that are extremely, extremely fast, but so short that you have to put everything you have into just hitting them and then stopping.
Yes, it's so stop and go. And so anchor heavy too.
Oh, that mini jack right into the burst. These are fast too. This is about those are like 200 BPM mini jacks, maybe faster.
I think it's 205. Yeah, very fast.
Yeah, and that is the first third. We've still got about 4 minutes left in this map, a 4.5, I think.
Yeah,
so you're already 2,700 combo in. You've got a lot of time to work with on this chart. And not a whole lot of time to calm yourself down. Like, there are plenty of breaks, but they do not last very long, and then you just get thrown right into the thick of everything.
Yeah, this one is very heavy on the mini jacks and grace heavy kind of dump patterning.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of people who... the people who are going to succeed on a map like this are the ones who are capable of really pushing their speed, I think.
Indeed. I do wonder if we'll be seeing this played. Unfortunately, we did not see the last time.
We didn't see Booth of Fighters played at all in the quarterfinals weekend. First weekend we've seen this tournament without a tiebreaker, but you know, with the matchups we're seeing in semifinals, I would not be surprised to see maybe even a couple of tiebreakers. And having a song as hype as Ooparts, you know, get you going for the tiebreaker. That is hype. It reminds me of the OWC Grand Finals, which actually did end up in a tiebreaker on Ooparts. So
yeah, that was just very exciting.
Yeah, thinking about the excitement factor of that just really puts me on edge to see, you know, what kinds of matches and, you know, whether we'll actually see a tiebreaker next weekend.
This is indeed like a map that was made. I mean, this is a song that was made for the OWC tiebreaker.
Yeah, it was. It was made for the World Cup tiebreaker. I believe the initial plan was for it to be used for Mania, but it ended up getting delayed a little bit, so they just pushed it to OWC, and you know, that's where Tojita ended up coming in for Mania.
Yeah.
But so we're finally getting the run back for it in the semifinals tiebreaker instead.
And this is one of the dense LN sections, which is not something you wanna just mess up on. Those trills are very fast. just continues on, and then we get to one more very rise-heavy section where it's like consistent streams and mini jacks all around.
But yeah, these are really fast streams coming up after that really difficult LN section.
And very mini jack heavy section here too. It's like just... And then we got some LN interspace there too, and we're almost at the very final section, which is a bunch of... We'll see. It's like inverse shore jack.
Yeah, and then you see that pie chart being so small, we still got about 45 seconds to a minute left.
Yeah. There's still a lot of sharks to go. And here it is. This is...
throwing you into the lion's cage.
Yeah. This is probably the most difficult part to coordinate by far. We got mini jacks to transition out of into more just very intense long nose section, and then you got very fast sections here. I think it's set to 230 BPM. And those bursts are not forgiving at all. Like, it just packed such a punch in just this section. And there we go.
And that's going to be it for the semifinals map pool for the Oceania 4Key World Cup. And a fitting end to that map pool for this upcoming weekend, which I think is going to have lots of very intense matches.
And yeah, with that said, I hope you all enjoyed the pools and remember to actually play them.
Yeah, make sure to practice. We got 12 teams left in the tournament ready to tackle this semifinals map pool. And that is going to be the finisher for our semifinals weekend. And of course, before we close out the final stream of the weekend, I gotta get a plug in. Buy your banners, support the tournament, support the teams, support whoever you want. All 32 teams that made a bracket stage still have banners available, even if they're already knocked out, even if they're in the losers bracket.
Support your country.
Yeah, support your favorite team, and it helps keep these World Cups going, gets the prize pools going, and supports all of the players here. Make sure to pick one up today in the OSU store. And with that, do you have anything else to say, Daffy?
No, I do not. I don't think. Well,
right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just excited for next week. I'm excited. Hard to say anything else.
100% excited. Excitement through the roof. Hype levels through the roof. We're gonna see some great matches, and I hope we'll all see you there.
Yeah, make sure to come back for next weekend because it's going to be a very, very exciting weekend. Don't miss any of the matches because I think all of them are worth watching.
With that said, see ya guys, and see ya next weekend.
Yeah, we will hopefully see you all next weekend.
Drop it.